All right. Okay. We are back and we are live on YouTube. And for right now, it's just going to have to be just YouTube, but I will get it so that we can be adding on other platforms soon. Until then, hello everyone. This is Thinker St. James. This is YAMMA Talk Live. And we are talking MMA today and every day of my life. So, thank you for joining, Botrix. Much appreciated. Vaping like a douche, talking MMA. So today, the big deal that I wanted to go over. So normally, when I'm doing my research for videos, I'm going through all of the news websites, doing a million different Google searches, tons of them, and I come to the conclusions that I come to based on that. But instead of doing all of my research offline, I wanted to do a little research online today about a couple of things that are big to me. And since we didn't have fights this week, I wanted to look into for the next episode of Yamma that will be coming out on the channel. I was thinking about doing a separate video on the 12-6 elbows rule, but we'll see if I just roll that into a Yamma episode. I don't. It depends. But so the big news right now is that they are potentially going to change the rules about 12-6 elbows, which is a very big change when it comes to MMA. That's like kind of a huge thing. The 12-6 elbow rule has been in effect since the unified rules of MMA were implemented, as far as I know, and that is the reason why John Jones is not a undefeated fighter, because he was disqualified for his elbows to Matt Hamill that were deemed 12-6s by the greatest referee of all time, Mario Yamasaki. And because of that, he ended up losing that fight. So the rule change is not in effect yet, but it is apparently being debated, and or it's in some kind of capacity up for discussion in, I guess, the, well, what is it? It's Andy Foster from CSAC who is proposing this, and he's been pretty vocal about this in the past. It's not only the 12-6 rule that's changing too, it's actually the rule for downed opponents, which I did an entire video on, at least in part, when we were talking about the use of the replay system and it being used to help clarify whether an opponent is downed or not. So the 12-6 is a big one, though, and here you've got John Jones right here. That is, the biggest story of the 12-6, the biggest legacy of it. I think to this day, Dana White is trying to have the fight overturned and turned into I guess just be a no contest, I guess. For John Jones, because John Jones is the golden boy, so why wouldn't he want to do that, right? So let's see what we've got here. Oh, and yeah, they just showed a little clip of WWE there. I want to look into those allegations against Vince McMahon on this stream as well. Not because I want to intermingle MMA and professional wrestling, because that is really the absolute last thing that I want ever in my life, but I want to see some of what is in the actual thing, not only because it is apparently extremely graphic and very, very salacious, to say the least, but also WWE, UFC under the same umbrella, with TKO as the parent company of both now. So I want to look into what all is going on there. Oh, and also I forgot to turn this light on. Hold on. Oh, I was looking a little dark. All right. So, let's take a look at this. Okay. Of the many regulations of the Unified Rules of MMA, right? Yeah. The list of illegal strikes in MMA has largely been a consensus, though undeniably the most debated forbidden move has been the 12-6 elbow. Indeed. It's rare that you see them now, as far as like just people kind of throwing that motion and getting warned about it just because of how like universally forbidden it has been. And I guess it just recognizes that. It's one of those fouls that you don't see as much as like you would see maybe like you know, a cup shot or you know, a fence grab or something like that. So yeah, so this is definitely a big deal. The strike is infamously linked to the lone loss on John Jones' 27-1 record to Matt Hamill. Yep. At the Tough 10 finale. God, it's so crazy to think that was when that was. Tough 10. We just finished season 31. Season 32 is supposed to come out this year. A show that I will be watching, but definitely not reviewing every episode of. Because that was a fucking nightmare. Let's see here. So the result was almost unanimously protested, as even Dana White and Joe Rogan continue to consider Jones undefeated to date. Yeah, and that's why Dana has been campaigning so strongly for that decision to be overturned, because it you know, it tarnishes the record of his golden cow, John Jones. And John Jones gets the special treatment that John Jones gets because, you know, he brings in the viewers, he brings in the money. He is untouchable, essentially, to anyone and everything. That's why he just continues to act the way he does forever. Beat up your wife, no problem. Get thrown out of the gym, no problem. According to the official rule book, the 12-6 elbow is defined as an elbow strike thrown in a direct downward motion, referring to the positioning of the respective numbers on an analog clock. Yes, indeed. That is the straight up, down, the 12-6. So Joe Rogan wants them back. Let's hear what Rogan had to say about this.
Bring back 12-6 elbows.
From where?
From standing in the guard, anywhere. 12-6 elbows illegal still, which is the dumbest thing in the world.
Are illegal.
Did I say legal? Illegal.
In the mount. Like if I'm mounted,
Right.
you can't go like this.
Can't go 12-6,
Yeah.
which doesn't make any sense.
But from full guard, you can. If I was on my back in full guard,
because
you
it's
can.
going 6-12.
Yes.
Which is the dumbest shit of all
Yes.
time.
Yes.
But
Oh, that
standing,
is
you can't do it.
ridiculous.
So
Is
if-
that the truth? Is that the so wait, so if you're on, oh, because it's, that is so dumb. That really is ridiculous. It's specifically, it's not the motion itself of the straight up and down. It's specifically the downward aspect of it. I mean, they're like, so the justification, as far as I know, was because back when the unified rules of MMA were implemented, the 12-6 was not allowed because one of the people on the committee making the rules, or not, I don't know if it was on the actual committee or if it was like a lawmaker that was somehow involved in approving it or something. It was somebody involved in that early part of the process that had seen a like karate person breaking a bunch of like concrete with a downward elbow. And so they wanted to make the 12-6 elbows illegal because this person was like I don't want that in there. And somebody, and it was Big John McCarthy was working on those because he's the guy who basically put all that together. So Big John McCarthy is really kind of at legendary status in the MMA world for that reason. I don't think he gets enough credit for the amount of influence and impact that his work had. But so anyway, they had asked Big John at the time when this was all being debated. They were like, can you just give this guy the 12-6 elbows? Like, we want to get all of these other rules passed. We want there to be a unified rules in general. If it's going to get this guy off of our ass, can you just, go with that? And apparently Big John was like, yeah, we'll do that. Or, not just him specifically. It wasn't like he was the end all be all of it, but whoever was in charge of it, including him, were like, okay, that's a concession that we're just going to have to make. So that is, as far as I know, the way that started. As of January 2024, the strike remains illegal. Yes, we know this. Okay, California State Athletic Commission announces desire to alter official MMA rules. In a long-awaited move, the California State Athletic Commission appears to be proposing rule changes in MMA. Thank God. And Andy Foster, it's actually, like, when I was doing the research on the USADA UFC breakup video, I watched a good amount of footage of Andy Foster, and like, Andy Foster, like I'm cool with Andy Foster. Like, you can definitely tell, because a lot of these guys, like, it's sometimes hard to like jive with some of these people that are in the oversight committees and stuff, because it's like it sometimes feels, at least from an outsider's perspective, when they're not engaging with the public, it feels like that, do these people even watch MMA? Like, are they even fans of this? Or are they just like, regulatory busybodies who are out there trying to, spoil everyone's fun or whatever? You know what I mean? But Andy Foster is not that. Andy Foster is a former fighter. Andy Foster, he is a fan of the sport. You can tell when he like speaks about it that like he has, at least in his perspective, he has the sport's best interests in mind, and he wants it to be a more entertaining product in general. So like, people complain about, fights are boring, this and that, when they are that way, and Andy Foster's like, well, these are some of the rule changes that we're trying to get passed, because these are the things that are going to make fights more exciting, and people don't want to see I think that Andy Foster was big in the rule, like not the rule about standing up fighters, but like the inactivity on the ground thing, where it was like the stalemate positions, or like guys who are straight, like just laying praying, that they get stood, like, at least as far as I know, the guidelines have been changed so that the referees stand them up quicker. And at least, too, it's still at the referee's discretion, but it's like, you don't want to have a like, the person has to be active on the ground, I think, is what the overall change to the sentiment was. That you can't just have this guy straight up smothering this other guy for the entire fight and not actually being active. Although I think that rule change might have come before the Jalton Almeida versus Derek Lewis fight, so perhaps it is not being implemented as strictly as it could be. But anyway, the point is that Andy Foster, like, he doesn't want that kind of shit. Like, he talks about wanting the sport to stay entertaining, wanting people to be engaged with it, and wanting fighters to have to actually fight. So Andy Foster is, as far as I can tell so far, at least, he's getting a thumbs up in my book, at least in that regard. Now, as far as other things that, may be, going on as far as regulations go, who knows? I mean, it's hard to say. I don't know when Andy Foster took over the position. That's a good question. Andy Foster. There he is, that Andy Foster, the member of the New Zealand Parliament. All right, where's Andy? I think it's on here. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, he's been the executive director of the California State Athletic Commission since 2012. So I guess when did the Nate Diaz thing happen? Or yeah, Nate Diaz. No, not Nate Diaz. Nick Diaz. My mistake. My mistake. What year was that? Nate has his own set of problems. Yeah, what year? This was Nate Diaz. Oh, Nick Diaz. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Get it straight in your head, thinker. Nick Diaz suspended for 5 years, failing drug tests. Yeah, what year, bro? My brother. What year? (2015). So, if Andy Foster was already in charge then that's kind of a little messed up. But at the same time, Nick Diaz was notorious for not obeying rules in general, so apparently he had had a few infractions before that, and it's like, hey man, if you're already skating on thin ice, just can't be doing that. I guess, it's like, you don't have to like the law, but, you respect it or you find out, you know what I mean? Which sucks. Change the laws. But until they're changed, you got to at least work the system. Play the game as it goes, So, yeah, but Andy Foster was a rather decorated fighter himself. So that shows when you, listen to him talk and stuff. He's certainly, like I said, he's a fan. He cares about the sport. He cares about wanting it to be a product that he can be proud of. It's one of those tough things when it comes to regulation in general of sport, and of course specifically of MMA, is that you end up in situations where you have a split-second decision made by the referee in the heat of the moment. You have a lot of the school of thought is always to, like, the action should never be halted, essentially, is what it seems like, at least. Which, of course, you don't want the action to be halted, especially in a fight. It changes the course of the fight. It changes the momentum. All understandable. But when they enacted the replay system, it's like there needs to be a full-on system change where you can have, like, quicker, if there are fouls or if there are perceived fouls, get to the realization of how it needs to be dealt with quickly, then deal with it and restart the fight, like, as quick as you can, so that theoretically it has the least amount of impact on the fight, except for the fighter who is impacted by the foul, in which case hopefully that leaves them, gives them the rebalancing that they deserve from being fouled upon. So it's tricky. It's a tricky thing. But anyway, so yeah, Andy Foster is the one spearheading this effort to change these rules, and it seems like he's been pretty adamant about a couple of these rule changes for a little bit of time at this point. So he plans to propose 2 major alterations to the current MMA rule set. The official document from the Association of Boxing Commissions and Combative Sports Mixed Martial Arts Committee desires to change the definition of a grounded opponent, as well as abolish the status of 12-6 elbows as legal. I think these are both very, very, very good changes. Make these changes. So let's see. Ariel Helwani tweeting here. What does he say? Andy Foster, who is the current executive director of the California State Athletic Commission and chairman of the Rules Committee for the Association of Boxing Commissions and Combative Sports Mixed Martial Arts, tells me he will be proposing this change at the rules meeting next week. Yes, this is pretty big indeed. Let's see here. Who else is on this? Members of the committee. Oh, Jaron Villel is a secretary on here. That's interesting. Jaron Villel, referee in the UFC and other places, I'm sure. Scott Bowler, I do not know who that is. Derek Cleary, a judge. Derek Cleary. Mark Goddard, also referee. Big John McCarthy, still in there, still doing his thing. Good for him too. I'm telling you, Big John does not get the credit for what he has done for officiating and for establishing the at least theoretical playing field evening in mixed martial arts. Sal D'Amato, also a member of the committee, controversial judge there, and the OG, Herb Dean, best in the biz even when he gets dogged on. Herb Dean is still the best. Herb Dean and Jason Herzog are the two best referees, I think. Who else would I put up there? I think Chris Tione is a great referee too, actually. All that shit with him and the early quote unquote stoppage from that Noche UFC fight completely got vindicated in my opinion. And I think that I think he's a very fair referee. I don't know. And I mean, I used to think that Keith Peterson was one of the better ones, and then I mean he's just been kind of fucking up left and right. I was gonna do an entire video about him at one point. Still might if he keeps fucking up, because the elephant never forgets. I've got all of the Keith Peterson fuck ups categorized in my mind, just waiting for the next one to be like, all right, dude, that's a bridge too far, because he's had some pretty bad ones. He had one. He had a very weird one where he thought a guy tapped and he didn't actually tap at all. Like it was on I think it was on a fight night card, and like the prelims of a fight night card, where the dude had his hand up, and I don't remember if it was in a fist or not, but he was on his back, and he was, I guess, getting like a top triangle kind of thing, like he was kind of locked in from like a dominant position on top, and he had his arm up around the guy's back, and like it was kind of like in this sort of motion, and like, but it wasn't, he didn't tap, he wasn't even making any kind of motion with the arm. And then Keith Peterson went and grabbed his hand and like pulled it up, and the guy kind of like instinctively like pulled his hand back, and so Keith Peterson counted that as a tap. So it was like the motion was like this. It was like, you know what I mean? Like, whereas like he pulled it back, and then it just like, the tension that he was putting on his own arm, the tightening of the muscle, like jolted it back down, and Keith Peterson thought that was a tap. That was a really bad one. Then the other one that really stood out to me recently that no one seems to talk about, but to me it was really very blatant, was when in the Ian Gary fight, Ian Gary versus Neil Magny, Ian Gary is just sitting there hanging out on the cage with his arm propped up on the top, and he's just chilling. And it's like, bro, what is happening, So anyway, that's a little side note about Keith Peterson. Jeff Mullen, also a judge. Is he also a referee, Jeff Mullen? Or is he yeah, he is a judge. Yeah, not a referee. My mistake. Where was I? Oh yeah. Hey, what happened to Errol Helwani's tweet? Oh, there we go. Got tabs open all over the place. Who else is on here? Cristiano Sampaio, Brazil. Oh, from Brazil. Cristiano Sampaio. I don't know who that is. Oh, he's the commissioner for MMA. He's the MMA commissioner of Brazil. Okay. Cool. That's good to know. Cool. There you go. Just checking out his LinkedIn. Why not? I don't know what any of it says because it's all in Portuguese, but these are things I am learning. I'm telling you, this is how I end up in the situations that I'm in making these videos. I find out all of this ridiculously obscure information that no one else seems to need to know about. Dr. John Muzzy. Muzzy? The language learning software? Or software. It was like a video series back in the day. These kids are speaking French. They're not French. They're American. Mark Ratner is Mark Ratner is why do I know that name? I know he's a UFC person, but what Mark Ratner? Yeah, okay, he was like one of the early guys. Yeah, he was the I guess he's still on the committee. That's pretty cool. He was an early like UFC guy. Like he started with UFC like really early on. Yeah, member of the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Yeah, he's the Vice President of Regulatory Affairs. There we go. All right. Oh, and he used to be the there you go. Okay, formerly he was the executive director of NSAC. All right, now things are making sense. Now it's all clicking. Corey Schaefer, it's I guess Bellator's regulation guy. Salim Hanif, probably Saudi Arabia. Chairman. No, I don't know. Did I spell his name right? Oh, 2 F's. Oh, he's a judge? Well, he was a judge at 297, apparently. He reffed 3 fights. He reffed Raquel Pennington and Myra Bueno Silva. Mavsar Evelev and Arnold Allen and Tavares versus Sade. Okay. Professional speaker and personal pro. What is this? Educated style. Professional speaker and personal style consultant for ambitious men in education, pro MMA judge. Okay, so I guess this is the guy. Yeah, Salim Hanif. So he's a stylist as well as a MMA judge. That's interesting. Anyway, all right. Oh, and who's the last one? I guess we've gone this far. Patricia Blackstock. I don't know. I'll look into her later. The document states that the CSEC believes a fighter should not be considered down for touching, reaching with their hands. For touching, reaching with their hands. Great writing. But instead, when any part of their body besides their hands or feet comes in contact with the canvas. Gotcha. Okay. If successfully agreed upon, the rules of a downed opponent would no longer allow fighters to reach down for the canvas to prevent being kneed or kicked in the head. All right. Fair enough. I do think it's a good change. I think both of those are good changes, but did it actually happen? This is from last week, I think. Did the change actually take place? Could be made legal. Yeah, Joe Rogan talking about it. That's from September of last year. No, we need to sort this here. Past 24 hours? Nothing in the last 24 hours. 3 days ago, same thing. Another down fighter UFC rule change in the works. Blah blah blah. UFC happens often enough in the UFC. The fans feel like they know and recognize them, but rarely are they so strictly enforced that they can end up changing the outcome of a fight. I mean, it's a good point, but you still have to make them not legal. I mean, can't have dudes just out there poking people in the eye. Like, eye pokes me. I don't agree with the framing of this sentence here. Yeah, I guess the big thing that's been the catalyst for this one was the Arnold Allen fight. Those knees were not illegal in the slightest because the current rule, as I mentioned in the video that I did on the subject, the current rule is that the fighter's hand has to be down, touching the ground, and weight bearing. So there has to be body weight placed on the hand in order for it to be considered an action that constitutes a downed opponent. It is a little ridiculous that people can kind of exploit that and make that essentially like a part of their fighting style. But the knees that Arnold Allen was throwing in his fight were completely legal. There was no weight being put on the hand whatsoever. Same with the Valentina Shevchenko, Alexa Grasso knees, really. Unfortunately for Allen, despite many referees and jurisdictions in the U.S. adhering to a version of the down fighter rule, where's the hand? Oh, right, and that was the thing. My bad. They were not legal because of the rules in Canada. They were fighting in Toronto. The Toronto rules were different. In Toronto, the hands only have to be touching the mat. They do not have to be weight bearing. Yeah, Ontario's regulations state that any body part touching the canvas other than the soles of the feet renders kicks or knees to the head an illegal strike. Not cool. Really, I mean, all of these should be, should be struck. I think that it's the right thing to do to be striking all of these. And honestly, knees to downed opponents works just fine in one. Like, you watch a fucking one fight, dude. They're throwing knees to downed opponents all the fucking time, and it's brutal to watch just because it is a very large amount of force being thrown. From the knee, obviously connected to the thigh bone there, knee bone connected to the thigh bone, but like the amount of force being generated is immense, and it does suck that. Or like not that it does suck. It's like, oh, it is kind of like makes you recoil a little bit when you see somebody get hit flushed with one. But one fighters continue to fight another day. I don't think it's any more brutal than an oblique kick. I was just talking to the homie about that the other day, saying that he was saying that the oblique kicks, he thought they should be illegal, and I'm like, I don't think it should, because it's brutal. It could be like potentially career ending. Really, it is a devastating hit to take like straight on, and full force and at the right angle. But how is it any different than any other type of kick? You know what I mean? It's the foot coming in contact with a part of the, a legal part of the body. I mean, just because it's coming at an odd angle doesn't mean that it's not a kick like any other kick. It's just one that just happens to be highly effective in fucking people's lives up. So I guess maybe that's how you can justify it, right? But I don't know if I would necessarily be that upset with oblique kicks being outlawed, but always err on the side of less regulation when and if you can. That's why the regulations that are in place are so important, because it is, already a rather lawless kind of sport to begin with. And it's also taking place in the blinks of eyes. So these referees, like, they take a lot of flack, but it's a tough fucking job. Always respect the ref. Caught a head and arm with about 3 minutes left in the round. I fired off some knees, and in the moment I believed they were legal. Yeah, that's Arnold Allen talking. I asked the rules backstage, and there was nothing to clarify. Mark Goddard is getting a lot of flack for his call, but when he came in and said he was reffing, me, my coach, and my manager were very happy, and I still think he's one of the best refs out there. I believe he made a mistake, and it's a tough one. I do feel I was on to a sequence where it was about to set up a finish. Well, yeah, that's an unfortunate thing. And there you go. Talking about changing the momentum of a fight. My opponent was really hurt. Yeah, right. We get it. So what did Andy Foster actually say? Initially, most commissioners held that anything other than the soles of feet were touching the mat made them ground. Right. That regulation was amended by the ABC in 2017 to say that a fighter must have 2 points of contact other than their feet, both hands down. But most commissions ignored that directive, creating wildly inconsistent application across the U.S. Later, the regulation was tweaked again to say that just one hand down would make a fighter grounded, but that hand must be weight-bearing. There you go. Wow. I did not know that all of this history behind it. That's a lot of twisty turnies. Once again, some commissions made the jump, some didn't. That, the fact that there is not a across the board, I'm all about states' rights, small government kind of guy. But the fact that for something, because it's like you have the way that it works in MMA is not like the way that it works in football or basketball or any of the team sports. The NFL's rules, I would assume, are maybe, I don't know, that maybe I'm speaking out of my ass here. I don't know how their like who actually governs the rules. Let's see, who governs the rules of football. This is no, American football, dude. Come on. Yeah, NFL rules compliance, the NFL football operations. Who regulates American football? USA Football is currently the internationally recognized governing body for American football. Oh, so it is that. Wait. Oh no, okay, it isn't. I was right. Good. I was like, wait a second. USA, in March 2018, the Court of Arbitration for Sport determined that the IFAF New York was the proper governing entity and voided all decisions of the other IFAF entity, including their decision to strip USA Football of its recognition. USA Football is the currently, yeah, okay, got it. So I guess they've got some kind of oversight thing too, but really the issue is that, like, what I was leading to, and I don't know, take that part out of it perhaps, but the thing is that you've got all of these different commissions governing the sport differently. There's a unified rule set for a reason. There needs to be some unification in these in the application of these rules. I mean, that, like, it really should be an across the board thing. It should be kind of similar to well, not really. I was going to say it should be similar to the U.S. government, but really that's kind of not fixing the problem if you've got a federal and a state, enforcement unit. I really, like, it should be like these are the directives that you must follow from the overall body, and then that gets broken down. Not it doesn't. It doesn't get broken down. It gets applied consistently, and that's the end of the story. But anyway. So it doesn't look like we know for sure if this actually, like, happened yet or not. We're going to get rid of the hand, Foster said in an interview with the MMA Hour. Let's watch a little bit of that. I don't know if I'm going to get tossed because of this.
Enough to join us right now. There he is. Hello, Andy. How are you?
Hi, Ariel. Good to be with you.
Yes, it is a pleasure, and thank you for jumping on a little earlier than we had scheduled. I appreciate it very much. By the way, do you have a black eye over there on the left side, or is that just? I know you like to dabble in terms of training, so I wasn't sure if someone caught you there.
Yeah,
no,
I trained Friday. Yeah.
See, Andy Foster still out there, fucking kicking ass. This is what I'm talking about. Fucking prove me right immediately, Andy Foster. He's not just some dude who's sitting in an office somewhere, typing away, trying to ruin the sport, and going around being like a fucking homeowners association regulator, like, going in there checking the blades of grass in your lawn kind of thing. This dude is out here. He's training. He's got a fucking black eye from training. This motherfucker's real,
I'm okay, though.
All right. I like it. Much respect. Much respect. Okay, so speaking of Friday, we spoke on Friday about this downed opponent rule, which came into focus in Toronto at UFC 297 in the Arnold Allen-Movsar Evloev fight. You are, in addition to your role as the executive director of the California State Athletic Commission, you are and correct me if I'm not getting the verbiage correct here and the title correct, you are the chairman of the Rules Committee of the ABC, the Association of Boxing Commissions, and you are going to propose a modification to this rule tomorrow. There's a process here in place.
So what date was this? This was on. Where does it say that? Open this up here. What date was this? Was 3 days ago. Okay, so 3 days ago. So tomorrow would have been 2 days ago that the proposal was made. So when is the vote, I wonder?
But I would love to hear from you what your thoughts are on this, what the modification is, and why you want to make this change.
Yeah, Ariel, I mean, look, we're going to get rid of the hand. That's my proposal. We're going to get rid of it. If you want to be down, you need to put something else down. Knee, back, anything.
Well, I mean, that helps for sure, but it doesn't change like the Aljamain Sterlings of the world, you know? I mean, people will find a way. Okay, I can't put a hand down. It's like, so then if Movsar Evelev had just dropped to his knees, you know, I guess that would have given him a possibility of maybe catching an illegal one or figuring a way out of it. Probably not the best move, but still, you know, step in the right direction.
Anything other than you can't be standing up, putting your hand on the ground. It's caused too much confusion. A rule that we put in for safety has in fact created an unsafe environment, and it's created an untenable environment for referees to regulate this. They all view it differently. Herb likes weight bearing. Others do different things. Different commissions look at it different ways. You can't have unified rules where the rules aren't unified.
That is the point that I was literally just making a second ago. There needs to be cohesion amongst the rules in general. You can't have you know, a commission here doing one thing, a commission here doing another thing, or if there is going to, I mean, like, I don't know how you accomplish that necessarily, because that does get into like some sticky territory of, you know, like sovereignty, quote unquote. I mean, I guess, you know, is one way to put it. That does end up being a bit of a problem, but still, I mean, there really should be like some type. I don't know how you accomplish it, but like there, like it would behoove the sport in general if there was consensus and enforcement that was unified across all of these places where fights take place. You know, I understand wanting people to, you know, areas and territories to have their own say in those kinds of things, but really, it only serves to muddy the waters and end up in situations like the Arnold Allen fight.
And we've got to get rid of this. It's a situation that we, the regulators, have created. Our creation, it hasn't worked, and we need to fix it.
And so, just to be clear, the current rule in most states is that you have both feet on the mat and both hands on the mat. And if it's weight bearing, if the hands are weight bearing, not like your pinky is just like kind of grazing the mat, weight bearing, then that is considered down. What you are saying is you need to have your knee, you need to have your elbow, you need to have your forearm, you have to have something else on the mat as well to be considered down. Is that correct?
Well, it's one hand now down, one hand. It was, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, John McCarthy brought forward a change, which this was initially what he was trying to get to, but I didn't understand as much then as I see it now. It's caused a lot of problems, and John was a little bit ahead of his time with coming up with that. And I talked to a lot of people. I was like, let's just, you know, how can we make this better? Just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. I'm not to the point, though, Ariel, to where I'm ready to go to knees to the head of a grounded opponent on the ground. I'm just not there.
Aha. Now that's an interesting tidbit, because as I was saying too, in one, they are there, and it is used quite often, and to great effect. I mean, you know, Demetrius Johnson, Mighty Mouse, took a pretty bad one, you know, lost him a belt. So, yeah. I mean, Again, always there on the side of the least regulation needed. But I guess it's it's one of those things that kind of is a person by person thing. It's kind of subjective as to how you feel about it. I guess Andy Foster does not feel that it is something that he's ready to get in on.
I'm not there. Some people are. I've talked to a lot of people. Why don't you just do the global rules, as they call it? I'm not there. But when you're
So when he says the global rules, though, is that like, is there some kind of global rules of MMA that are used outside of the U.S.? Oh, okay. So one championship has its own these global rules, and that's what they use. Okay, so here we go. Combat press. Thank you. The global rule set that one utilizes encourages athletes to leave behind the archaic unified rule set that other organizations promote in the hunt for a highlight reel finish. Well, there you go. This is absolutely fascinating. Fascinating. It is riveting to a nerd like me. Had action gone to the judges for a decision, however, fans would have gotten an insight into why it may be the rule set of the future. Perhaps the most significant difference between the unified rules and the global rule set of one is how a contest is scored. Yeah, that is another big difference. The round by round versus full fight scoring. Under the unified rules, points are awarded round by round via a 10-point must system, with the round winner receiving 10 and the loser getting 9 or less. But under the global rule set, the bout is scored as a whole. Yes, indeed. There is a strong case for this. There is a strong case for this is being better as being a better system to score a battle. If one athlete barely loses the first 2 rounds but surges in the final frame with a clear-cut third round, they would likely go down to a 29-28 decision under the unified rules, but under the global rules set, they would win. Yeah. I don't know. I'd be interested to weigh the pros and cons of that, or see it implemented in the UFC and see how it would fly. Getting into the weeds of the global rule set reveals where the difference in spirit lies between the two systems. Aggression, damage, and near finishes are highly rewarded, and the emphasis is on finishing the match, which many argue is the right focus to have. After all, to fight. Yes, indeed. Striking combinations and ring generalship are also listed in the global rule set, which places a further emphasis on the action. So, just taking charge of the fight. The athlete who is more active and is seeking to finish the match will be rewarded overall. Yeah, I mean, there you go. I think that's yeah, I'm good with that. I don't know, this article is kind of swaying me a little bit here. This is why officials have been able to give yellow cards to athletes who stall the action. Oh, they have like a card system, like I don't know if they're literal yellow cards. I don't know if I've actually seen that in one. Furthermore, as fans witnessed in Moraes and Johnson's first meeting at ONE on TNT last year, the global rule set allows athletes to knee a grounded opponent. Moraes took advantage of this to score a decisive victory. This highlighted why the rule is a good addition to a fight, as it keeps the action moving on the ground. Fair. As states like Colorado approved the global rule set, fans will begin to see the two systems used side by side and have a chance to examine which one is best suited. The global rule set incentivizes athletes to seek the finish, which is what martial artists are taught. Trying to earn points towards a decision is not rewarded, and there is no gamesmanship with a round-by-round structure. I mean, this is all very fair. The criteria put forth by the global rule set is why one continues to shine with raucous bouts that lift fans to their feet, and it is something we need to keep an eye on as potentially being the future of the sport. Well, what year was this article published? Does it not say? I guess not. Wow. That was in September of 2022. I mean, I would be okay with it if they decided to. I wonder why Andy Foster, what his reasoning is. Let's listen more here.
You're either standing up fighting, boxing, kickboxing, doing whatever, or you need to get on the ground and wrestle or do jiu-jitsu, do something. But this idea where you're in this quasi thing where the guy hopes he doesn't knee, if his hand's down, maybe his hand's not enough, the referee. Because look at that fight the other day that you texted me on, and I didn't want to text on. He clearly, Alan clearly did not intend to foul his opponent. And if you go back and you look at it, those are probably legal strikes. I mean, if you just look at it real slow. But Mark Goddard's put in an untenable position, and I felt like he did the very best thing he could do with the situation with the cards he was dealt. But we've got to give them better rules. We have to give the fighters better rules, and we have to give the referees better rules.
And so
I agree.
You say you're not quite there.
Yeah, I agree with all of that.
Knees to a grounded opponent, knees to the head, etc. Do you think you'll ever get there? Knees and the soccer kicks, which are obviously very popular overseas, in Asia in particular.
Ariel, it comes from experience. I watched a fight back years ago at one of Jamie Levine's promotions where a guy got soccer kicked in the head. And that kind of like turned me off to that because I was cage side when it happened, and it was a pretty damaging strike. I never saw anything quite like it, and at that time, and I feel like there's limits to this, and that's too dangerous right now for me. But maybe one day I'll get there. They can show me some data or something, but I've got plenty of information on this rule, and this rule's created a situation where the referees don't even agree on what the rule means.
Right.
How is that a rule?
All very fair. I think all of that is very, very fair. I think that he's coming from a very level-headed position with all of this. He's saying himself, show me data that tells me something different when it comes to the global rule set as far as, I guess what he's talking about soccer kicks, but the other rules as well, I would suppose. I'm guessing that he's talking about downed, knees to a downed opponent as well. It changed his mind basically. In the meantime, he wants this rule changed, and he's making good points. I mean, if the referees are the ones who are in there in the heart of the action, and they can't agree on it, then is it really even a rule? I mean, then it's more of a guideline, right?
And so tomorrow you make this proposal. Can you tell us what are the steps in order to actually change the rule?
I'm gonna bring it forward in the rules committee. We're gonna vote on it. I think it'll pass. I'm going to have a meeting. I talked with Haskell Alexander the other day from the Chickasaw Nation, and I'm going to have a meeting with some of the tribal commissions coming up to discuss the rule. I've already talked to Tim Shipman from Florida. I've talked to Jim Erickson from Texas. I've talked to a lot of folks, and I've found not one person that doesn't agree. Yes, this is a problem. It's not just in the big shows. It's small shows, medium shows. We're seeing this week in, week out for this problem. And even if you go to a rules, so the process is passes tomorrow. I'm going to do the education.
Oh, so they were voting on it that day. I wonder if it didn't pass then. 35th Annual ABC Conference, Las Vegas, Nevada. Nevada. When is it? Oh, it's in July. Shoot. Could go out to Vegas in July. Where's the news section of this? I mean, they don't have anything on the website about it yet. Okay, this is from yesterday. If I could fucking read it. Jeez, with these ads. 2 unpopular MMA rules move closer to desired updates. The Association of Boxing Commissions and Combative Sports on Tuesday took I see what you did there. Step towards remedying right, blah, blah, blah. Right. The organization's MMA Rules Committee passed language that would clarify the definition of yeah, hell yeah. Thus making it illegal for the grounded fighter to absorb a knee strike to the head. Wait, what? The organization's MMA Rules Committee passed language that would clarify the definition of what makes a fighter grounded, thus making it illegal for the grounded fighter to absorb a knee strike to the head. Well, right. Yeah, it would. That's a weird way to word that. If we're talking about the same thing, the grounded fighter definition, as it presently is enforced, frequently has led to messy situations in unnatural fighting positions, occasionally leading to contentious fight-ending situations. And they were talking about the 12-6 over here. The committee also agreed to remove language that permits the so-called 12-6 elbow, one delivered from the 12 o'clock. Right? Yeah. Okay. Well, wait. Did they? Oh, they did. Yeah, they did agree to remove it. Oh, so 12-6s are illegal now. Let's go. A fighter shall be considered grounded and unable to be legally kicked or kneed to the head when any part of their body besides their hands or feet comes in contact with the canvas. So yeah, so this is a weird roundabout way of saying like that the ground opponent rule is also changed now. Under the incumbent rule on the books with the ABC, anything of a fighter is grounded when anything other than their soles of their feet are bearing weight. Okay. Andy Foster is not a football person. Again, another reason why Andy Foster is like an actual MMA fan, practitioner, and lover of the sport. It's like, I don't know what happens in the NFL. Like, cool. Whatever. We're mirroring them. Sounds good to me. Foster said working on updating the grounded fighter rule, fighter language picked up steam during it picked up steam during the Contender Series. That was the fight that I talked about in the replay video that I had made. And exactly. This is exactly the one I was talking about, Mario Paisan versus Alexander Soldotkin. Yep, that is exactly the fight I was talking about. And then, of course, the Arnold Allen fight we were just talking about a minute ago. Good stuff. See? Andy Foster watching the YAMMA channel. Good job, dude. All right, so it looks like these changes have been made. This is all very big and potentially interesting stuff. Now, what ends up happening with the John Jones situation? I wonder. We'll find out. All right, I'm going to take a real quick break now, now that we know that for sure. I'm going to take a quick break and go get some water, and I'm going to start the kick stream for the second half of the stream here just to see if that screws everything up. Either way, just out of curiosity at this point. But yeah, I'll be right back, and we'll go into the Vince McMahon, the stuff with all those allegations here in a minute. So sit tight, BRB. All right, I am back, and yeah, I started kick for a quick second, and it did indeed screw everything up. So yeah, I'm gonna get the multi-streaming thing going for the next stream because I want to be able to be on as many platforms as possible, sharing the message of the channel, which is to care about mixed martial arts as much as this fucking moron does. All right. So now that we know that the 12-6 elbows are legal, as well as downed opponent being considered having to have something other than a hand or a foot on the ground, that is the rule change that has been implemented. Yeah, I guess we're going to have to see how this all affects John Jones, and if they're going to end up overturning that. Probably not. I mean, like, those kinds of things don't usually, things that happen that far back in the past, they usually stay the way that they were. But who knows? Because, again, it's John Jones, different rules. Always different rules for John Jones. All right. So let's close some of these guys out here. Okay, so I have the complaint against Vince McMahon here. It is a very, very long complaint, so I'm not going to be reading all of it, probably. But I wanted to go through a little bit and see, A, what the hell is actually in this thing, because I've heard YouTube video after YouTube video about it. And the stuff that I've been hearing has just been fucking make your head spin kind of shit. In fact, I just listened to Jim Cornette's like full take on it. They had released like some kind of something, some video earlier about when the new allegations were first announced, that there was another lawsuit or whatever. They had made some video and then apparently had to like backtrack and say, hey, like they were joking about it a little bit because the details weren't all out yet, but now that they know the details, they were like, yo, this is worse than anybody thought that it was. And I probably for good reason, because from what I understand, the stuff in here is truly graphic. So let's but anyway, that's part number one. Part number two is to see how and if any of this affects MMA, because apparently Mr. Brock Lesnar is somehow implicated in this, not by name but by essentially not in name, but there's really no one else it could be, kind of thing, implicitly named. So let's see some of this here. So this Janelle Grant, she is alleging that plaintiff, a former WWE employee who was a victim of physical and emotional abuse, sexual assault, and trafficking at WWE, filed a lawsuit, not just to address her own suffering, but for those who are afraid to speak out. Okay, we've already got the victim language going, but I mean, apparently she is legitimately a victim here. I guess we'll have to see in a court of law. But anyway, to WWE's billionaire found. Yeah, I mean, they're really kind of loading this thing early on, but let's see what all this means. Billionaire founder, like, why do they have to add the billionaire language in there early? It's like, okay, they're establishing, they're setting a scene, and they're like establishing a narrative from the start here, I think, because from what I understand, they're going to say, that he used his power and influence, yada yada yada. Let's see. WWE's billionaire founder and executive chairman, defendant Vincent K. McMahon, lived in a penthouse duplex in Mrs. Grant's apartment building. Okay. The two met in March 2019 when Miss Grant was dealing with profound grief and struggling financially after devoting years of round-the-clock caregiving. Her parents passed away. On top of that, she was unemployed and her family home was lost in her parents' bankruptcy. Okay, so both of her parents died? So she was caring for both of, I guess, her ailing parents, and she lived in the same building as Vince McMahon. And then they lost their house due to bankruptcy, presumably, I guess, from dealing with all of this terrible medical stuff that's going on. I mean, off the bat, that's a very sad situation to be in, of course. After her family passed away, Miss Grant dedicated herself to finding gainful employment. Neighbors in her building provided career advice and sought her assistance with personal events. Ms. Grant used these non-paying roles in volunteer work and community initiatives to build her resume. Fair enough. How old did they say how old she was? The building's resident manager wanted to help. She messaged McMahon to ask whether he would talk to her, sharing Miss Grant had been through hardship and would do great things if given a fresh start. McMahon enthusiastically responded, "Hell yes!" What is this? It's like it's like a WWE writer wrote this. McMahon befriended Miss Grant, giving her hopes of a new life with promises of a yet-to-be-determined role at WWE, and showered her with attention and assurances, along with gifts like a VIP experience at WrestleMania. But what seemed like a dream in the spring of 2019 quickly became a nightmare. Quickly became a nightmare. You can already hear like the American Greed announcer. So far we know that her parents both died. She's helping people in the building with events and stuff, trying to build up a resume for herself. The building manager asks Vince McMahon if he can talk to her. And he says he, I guess, at least would talk to her. And obviously, I guess he gave her a job after that. He befriended her, gave her hope of a new life with promises of a yet to be determined role at WWE, and then gave her what, front row at WrestleMania. Wow. I mean, like, I don't know. Like, for a non-wrestling fan, that's like one of those weird things where it's like, that'd be like somebody gifting me, like, I don't know, what would be a good comparison to that? Like, I don't know, if I like front row tickets to like Wimbledon. It's like, okay, cool. I don't care about tennis. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that I don't like dislike tennis. I just don't really give a fuck, you know? Or like horse racing. That's a better example. Like, somebody gives you like front row, a VIP box at the Kentucky Derby. You're like, all right, well, I'm here at the Kentucky Derby. I'm watching horses run around. Cool. Anyway, as McMahon dangled career-making and life-changing promises in front of Miss Grant, he demonstrated an increased lack of boundaries. Okay, during several meetings that were ostensibly about a potential job at WWE, he greeted her in his underwear, touched her repeatedly, asking for hugs, and spent hours sharing intimate details about his personal life. Oh, so he was pulling a Harvey Weinstein over here. Come up to the office and, you know, we'll talk about your next movie role. He comes to the door in the bathrobe. Oy vey. McMahon warned Miss Grant to keep their closeness secret, lest rumors lead to public trouble. Their closeness, quote unquote. I mean, he demonstrated an increased lack of boundaries, so I guess was she already like skeeved out by all this? McMahon warned Miss Grant to keep their closeness secrets, right? Okay, yeah. And added that while he protects loyal people, he had world-class legal resources on speed dial to deal with people who become a problem. All right, so he's essentially like, yeah, I mean, you know, he's almost like strong-arming her, is what this is implying, at least. As such, when McMahon pushed Miss Grant for a physical relationship in return for long-promised employment at WWE, she felt trapped in an impossible situation, submitting to McMahon's sexual demands or facing ruin. Miss Grant feared she had everything to lose and face negative consequences no matter what happened. Huh. So, okay, so they're saying then that she kind of got into a catch-22 kind of situation. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. So she, you know, he's trying to, you know, make it a hanky-panky kind of deal, and she's not into it, but she needs a job, and he's saying he can ruin her either way, so she's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, so to speak. After succumbing to the pressure of a physical relationship, Miss Grant was slotted into an entry-level position as an administrator-coordinator, a position McMahon created for her in the WWE legal department. Miss Grant began working in that role on June 17th, 2019. Okay, so she didn't, like, so she, I guess she didn't actually do anything? Like, what was that? What is that job, an administrator-coordinator? Like, that's not even really an actual title. That's two titles smushed together without any qualifier. Usually you're like an office administrator, or like, you know, I don't know, like a sales coordinator. You know, it's like an administrator coordinator. Like, what does that do? Because it's like an administrator / coordinator might make a little bit more sense. But then it's still, you know, a legal administrator coordinator. I don't know. Yeah, it sounds like, you know, as made up a position as it obviously was here. Miss Grant remained in that role with the exception of a temporary relocation to the XFL until McMahon verbally directed her to transfer to the Talent Relations Department, reporting to defendant John Laurinaitis. Oh, yeah, he's named in this too. Apparently he was like the right-hand man. On March 9th of 2021, during a conversation the same day, McMahon explained that her presence in the legal department was effectively delaying efforts to hire a new general counsel for the company. Oh. So she was in the legal department, didn't have anything to do, and they wanted to hire a new lawyer, so they had to move her to, what was it? Talent relations. Okay. McMahon and Laurinaitis informed Miss Grant that she would be promoted to Vice President of Operations in the Talent Relations Department, providing her with an organizational chart reflecting this decision. So she got promoted to a VP position. I mean, that's generally a pretty high up position in an organization, and they gave her a chart to reflect it. Shortly thereafter, they informed her that they needed her to begin at a lower level as a director, but promised her a promotion to vice president after a 12-month period. Yeah, so they're setting things up as like, you know, do this for a year, so that we can make it look legit, and then we'll give you a promotion. Okay. Despite Miss Grant's expression of unhappiness and attempts to end the sexual relationship, and while she came to understand that McMahon expected the physical relationship to continue as part of her employment, she had no idea how sordid it would become, nor how the psychological torture and physical violence would leave her feeling helpless, isolated, and trapped. Okay. So she's saying, okay, as of right now, she's in a position that she bumped around a little bit between the XFL and WWE's legal department and then their talent relations department, and was going to be made a vice president at some point, all based upon an explicitly sexual relationship with Vince McMahon. All right, so far I'm following. In March 2020, McMahon began sharing sexually explicit photographs and videos of Miss Grant, including pornographic content he recorded with other men both inside and outside of the company, including with members of the television production tech team, executives, producers, and a world-famous athlete and former UFC heavyweight champion with whom WWE was actively trying to sign to a new contract and ultimately did sign to that contract. Okay, so here we go. Brock is in. So Brock is at least known, Brock at least has some active role in this storyline here. But at least what it's saying though is that I don't think that Vince McMahon was necessarily like using that as a bargaining chip with Brock Lesnar. I mean, but it does sound like he was more like he was essentially, he probably had some video of her doing, X, Y, and Z on his phone or something, and was just kind of like, showing it around to everybody kind of thing. And I guess including Brock Lesnar, who I very much would like to know how he received that information. Like, that's just an awkward position to be in general. Like, even like, if it was like one of your boys, I feel like that'd be weird. Like, it's like, on the one hand, yo, cool, getting your dick sucked or whatever it is, but like, on the other hand, it's like, bro, like, I don't need to see it happening. Like, you can just tell me that, yo, hey, dude, I was hooking up with some chick. Congratulations, my guy. If you're a man, it's kind of what you're supposed to do. But I guess Vince McMahon was sharing these photos around. But I mean, I can't. Yeah, I mean, they're saying that he shared the photographs and videos. I mean, was he like mailing them? Like he was like sending them out? Did he have like a group chat going? Is that what was happening? What the fuck? Anyway, all right. Given McMahon's omnipresent position, or omnipotent rather, given McMahon's omnipotent position at WWE, coercion was inherent in his increasingly deprived sexual demands. Specifically, while McMahon was CEO of WWE and Miss Grant was employed as an entry-level coordinator in the legal department, McMahon recruited individuals to have sexual relations with Miss Grant and / with the two of them. Directed Miss Grant. Wait, hold on. Sorry. One more time here. Specifically, when McMahon was CEO of WWE and Miss Grant was employed as a coordinator, McMahon recruited individuals to have sexual relations with her, and or with two of them. With the two of them. So it was like McMahon was pimping her out and then having dudes have three-ways with her. Directed Miss Grant to defend Laurinaitis prior to the start of workdays for sexual encounter. Damn, dude. Just, 8 o'clock in the morning, just over the desk? Fucking good lord. And expected and directed Miss Grant to engage in sexual activity at the WWE headquarters even during working hours. Jesus. Round the clock. Running this chick. Oy. At this time, McMahon ordered Miss Grant to keep their relationship secret, unless otherwise instructed, including lying to maintain whatever cover stories he fabricated. I mean, yeah, I would think that that's probably part of the arrangement, as it's just now coming out. McMahon's assurances that Miss Grant was safe and independent rang hollow in light of his efforts to isolate her from friends and attempt to chip away at her identity until it was replaced with his desired role for her as a bitch, his fantasy, and or his porn star, while occasionally intermixing softer descriptors like girlfriend and baby and even love when convenient. He exercised complete ownership and control over both her personal and professional lives. Damn, so he was doing like the like controlling guy thing where it's like you can't even see your friends and family kind of stuff. Oh, he was doing the mental domination thing. Yikes. McMahon had also subjected Miss Grant to acts of extreme cruelty and degradation that caused Miss Grant to disassociate and or become numb to reality in order to survive the horrific encounters. Jesus, dude. Okay, as one example of McMahon's extreme depravity, on May 9th, 2020, he defecated on Miss Grant during a threesome and then commanded her to continue pleasuring his friend with feces, in bold, with feces in her hair and running down her back while McMahon went to the bathroom to shower off. Oh my, bro. Oof. That is insanity, dude. Like, yeah, that's like, that's like that, like, degradation for the sake of degradation type of shit. Like, that goes beyond the, that goes beyond, like, the sexual aspect of it. That's just like, you know, like breaking a person. And also, like, I wonder who that friend was to be able to continue just going on with that while she was in such a fucking state. Good lord. Upon his return from the bathroom, McMahon and his friend actively resumed the threesome, which lasted for over an hour and a half while Miss Grant remained... oh my god. While Grant remained covered in McMahon's... wow, dude. When McMahon's friend left, McMahon ordered her to stay and continue to gratify him. Oh, good lord, dude. So she's just sitting there for an hour and a half covered in shit? Bro. This is some next level. That is really something. In June of 2021, McMahon and defendant Laurinaitis sexually assaulted Miss Grant inside Laurinaitis' office in WWE headquarters while colleagues were busy at their desks. Behind a locked door, the two men cornered her and pulled her between them, forcibly touching her before ultimately putting her on top of a table in between them. She begged them to stop, but they forced themselves on her, each taking turns restraining her for the other while saying, "No means yes, and take it." Oh, damn, dude. This is just, wow. This is pretty much as bad as advertised. Unsurprisingly, what page are we on? Like, we're on page 5 of 67. Holy crap. Unsurprisingly, others at WWE knew what was going on, but instead of intervening to protect Miss Grant, WWE actively sought to conceal the wrongdoing. I mean, knowing where the bread is buttered, I suppose. In January 2022, McMahon told Miss Grant that his wife had found out about their relationship. Purportedly to avoid divorce, negative publicity, and other repercussions, McMahon said that Miss Grant's time at WWE was at an end, but he wanted her to sign an NDA to ensure her silence on, among other things, his personal misconduct. So he's firing her and making her sign an NDA on the way out. Wow, class act. In the days ahead, McMahon put Miss Grant under immense pressure to sign, saying that refusing would not only jeopardize McMahon, his family, and the company, but that she'd surely become a public headline, suffer reputational ruin, including from the pornographic. So he was doing revenge porn type threats here, and facing McMahon's legal resources. Conversely, McMahon reassured her that her signature would ensure his continued support and protection and safeguard her reputation. Ultimately, Miss Grant succumbed to the pressure and signed the NDA in exchange for payments, which McMahon later stopped paying. This motherfucker. So he agreed. I guess that they're implying here that he agreed to pay her money to sign this NDA, like he was going to continue to take care of her, and then he just stopped paying her. Bro, Vince, like, off the bat already, obviously, I don't think it kind of goes without saying that this is like some next level depravity for sure. But at the same fucking time, how stupid do you have to fucking be to have done the things that you did to this chick, and then you like say you're going to pay, like she should have payment for life, and you should be happy to do it. Like, what the fuck? Like, the fact that, I mean, this is what happens, man. These people become untouchable in their own minds, Even after pushing Miss Grant out of the company and muzzling her with an NDA, McMahon continued efforts to exploit her, including attempting to traffic her to a WWE star who would be in New York City for a live event and TV taping March 2022. Understandably, defendant's predatory conduct had left Miss Grant crippled, both physically and mentally, including from debilitating symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder and suicidal ideation. Yikes. These symptoms led her to termination from her subsequent job running her building's operations due to her inability to leave her home for weeks at a time. Oh, wow. So she went to work at the building she was living in, maybe even the same building that she was in when she met McMahon. I don't know, they don't say that. But she was so traumatized she just couldn't leave the house. Jesus. Despite McMahon's promise of reputational protection, WWE appears to have leaked information that led to the public disclosure of her name by a media blogger who cited a source in WWE with direct knowledge of the situation, which, upon information and belief, was an overt intimidation tactic aimed at Miss Grant. So they're saying that the WWE leaked information. Oh, that they leaked information to they leaked her name to a blogger. Okay, so they were already out to, like, they were trying to, damn, what the fuck was this guy's problem, bro? You do all this ill shit, and then you just continue, like, why did he want to ruin this chick so bad? WWE had also attempted to sweep the matter under the rug following media reports McMahon was involved in hush money payment scandal. All right, let me, all of this is very, certainly titillating information, of course, and I mean, titillating, maybe the wrong choice of words. It's intriguing and engaging for sure. But let me see if I can just see if where else the UFC is mentioned here. So yeah, they're talking. Right, that was there, and then okay, let's see. Defendant is it Delaware? Oh, okay. These are the parties being named. So is this all the way at the end? Oh no, this is that. Okay, so this is all like the preamble to this stuff here. All right, so I guess then the answer to all this is that I guess Brock wasn't implicated any farther than that, because they're just referring to him as, I mean, this is all alleged anyway. That they're just referring to him as the UFC star or UFC champion, so as they're saying, which obviously Brock is the only champion that fits the bill. So yeah, I guess I'll. I mean, the link, it's on the Wall Street Journal. So if you want to read the whole thing, you certainly can. But I thought there was going to be more about Brock Lesnar in here. So I mean, it sounds like though that really Brock isn't going to really face any kind of problems, because as far as this is saying, unless there is more stuff in here. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so they do only refer to him as a champion. That's the only time that he's mentioned here. Okay, so this is, yeah. Okay, so there's a whole, yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. I'm gonna leave it at that. I like, this is the YAMMA channel. We're not this is not about wrestling gossip. This is about MMA gossip. So yeah, I mean, read the rest of it. Well, what does this say here? Because yeah, I already looked up UFC, right? Yeah, okay. So there's UFC and right. What does it say? Defendant, World Wrestling Entertainment. Yeah, right. Blah blah blah. Is a Delaware limited liability company. Interesting that they're based in Delaware, technically. Delaware Corporation until on or about September 12th, 2023. Was a right. Transaction complete. Okay, so they're just saying that. Resulted in a merger between WWE and UFC promotions and the formation of their new company TKO. So yeah, so well, is TKO mentioned in here anywhere else? Oh, okay. So TKO is in a couple of places. So let's see here. But is it all just here? Yeah, looks like it. Okay, so that is that. All right, so I thought that Brock Lesnar was gonna have a bigger part in all of this. It looks like he does not. So, because yeah, I mean, really, it's like I don't think that you're necessarily. I guess it really depends on the nature of how he received these illicit photographs and videos or whatever it was, because it's like you can't really. I don't think that you can really find someone like liable or hold someone liable or like on the hook for any kind of legal repercussions for receiving that stuff unknowingly. In that, how do you prove that? Unless there's like some text messages or some type of exchange that was going on where it's like, hey, I have these pictures of this chick that I've been torturing. Do you want to see them? Yes, Vince, I would love to see them. I doubt that is the case. So perhaps not the circumstances that we should be expecting from that. But or not the circumstances that would lead to some type of actual actionable repercussions for Brock Lesnar. But I mean, all of this though, I mean, is TKO? I mean, TKO is named in this. Are they actually? So are they? I mean, it's yeah. They're suing the organization, and the organization is under that umbrella. So I mean, I guess technically the parent company of the UFC is in a little bit of hot water here with this. I'm sure it's going to settle out in some way, shape, or form. I would highly doubt that Vince is going to end up doing any kind of time for it. I mean, this is not a criminal case in general, from what I understand. So it's not like he he would be doing any time for it either way. But this is a civil suit. But I don't think that this. I mean, obviously he stepped down from WWE, and this was big enough to make that happen. Because the other one, that was a different woman, the first one, right? So so this one is this a different person, or is she the same person? Because I thought that this was a different person. Yeah, this John Laurinaitis guy, like, I don't know who that is. Like, I mean, I know the name just, via osmosis, essentially. Just, I've heard the name before, but I don't really know who that is. But I guess maybe they are talking about this girl in that. I thought it was a different person. Because I thought the one that was the initial one, like the one that they were talking about her in the back of the limousine kind of thing or whatever, like... maybe they are the same. Yeah, no, they are two different people. Because that was right, Rita Chatterton, the first female referee in the company. Yeah, this is a second version of this. I mean, not version of it. This is a much, much worse thing. I mean, and both of them are terrible, of course. But I mean, I don't think that this first lady had feces in her hair. So, good fucking Lord, man. All right, but as far as what it means for TKO, that's really what that's what we kind of care about over here. WWE and UFC still. This is Forbes. Paywall. All right. Of course, Vince is standing by his prior statement that the lawsuit is replete with lies, obscene made-up instances that never occurred, and is a vindictive distortion of the truth. Yeah, it is a scorching lawsuit indeed. I intend to vigorously defend myself against these baseless accusations and look forward to clearing my name. Ah, Vince, how many times can you do it? How many times can you pull it off, dude? Eventually your sins catch up with you, perhaps. Money, power, respect. Not everybody can keep it together. Some people believe they are above the law. I mean, and it's like, he already had the out, too. Like, he was already out. He didn't need to come back. The first time he resigned from the first incident, like, he could have just stayed on the sidelines and then dealt with this whole thing nice and quietly off in the side. He had to come back. This dude is like, I mean, beyond a workaholic, I guess. I mean, it's like, dude, oh my God. It's like, that's such, he's just addicted to it, to the power, I guess, the control of the entity that he created. Yeah, let's see. Okay, his resignation come after a long day of discussions and deliberations among top players at TKO and WWE as the blast radius of Grant's legal action became apparent and the corporate situation increasingly untenable for McMahon. Right. Right. Yep. This is just going into the stuff we looked over today. TKO referred deadline to McMahon's statement, which, when contacted, I think that should say. What's up with all these typos in these articles? They're pressing to get these things out too quickly. So his role is still up in the air. While sudden, McMahon's fall from his TKO perch amidst the sexual abuse allegations follow his ouster in 2022 from the WWE as he co-founded due to alleged executive misconduct. That misconduct, so that was the first one we were talking about with the Chatterley or Chatterworthy or whatever, Chatterton. Yep, right. Multi-million-dollar payoffs to former female employees, multiples. So maybe there were more than that. Grant said McMahon agreed to pay her $3 million in 2022 to keep their sexual relationship quiet if she signed an NDA. Now seeking to get the NDA neutered. Grant signed at the time, but says she only received $1 million from Vince so far. Damn, dude. Promising $3 million and only paying $1 million. How stupid can you be? Should have just paid the fucking money. He's got more money than fucking God, apparently. Bro, just pay the money. Like, I mean, don't do any of this. Is the first point. But if you're going to go through all of this trouble, pay the fucking money. So it's like, not only is it rape and torture and manipulation and all these terrible things, sex trafficking, all of this terrible stuff, and on top of it, it's bad business. Oh God, man. Oh, buddy. Right. Okay. Out of that windfall, TKO was formed last year. Having previously boasted about McMahon's role in the Endeavor-owned company TKO, where Ari Emanuel is CEO, said yesterday... Wait, what? That's just a weirdly written sentence. Having previously boasted about McMahon's role in the Endeavor-owned company, TKO, where Ari Emanuel is CEO, said yesterday, after Janelle Grant's assault and abuse lawsuit was filed, that Mr. McMahon does not control TKO, nor does he oversee the day-to-day operations of the WWE. Fine. Still fucking employed there. They went on to distance themselves, right? While this matter predates our TKO executives team's tenure at the company, we take Miss Grant's fucking accusations seriously. Of course, they always say that. This latest suit against McMahon was filed just over 48 hours after it was announced that TKO had made a 10-year, $5 billion deal with Netflix for the new streamer to get in the ring next year with Raw is going to Netflix? Damn. I didn't even hear about that. That's pretty big. $5 billion. Yeah, that's pretty fucking big. So, I mean, certainly convenient timing. I mean, and, look, again, it has to be proven in a court of law, I suppose. This could all be a fantastical fabrication, perhaps. I mean, there's a whole lot of smoke for there to be no fire when it comes to all of these women getting paid off and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But, it is all allegations and accusations at this point, so I guess we're just going to have to see what ends up coming out of it. But as far as implications for TKO and thus the WWE and thus the UFC, I guess we're going to have to see. I don't know what it's going to do to any of that. I mean, I don't think the UFC should necessarily take any kind of hits from any of this, but at the same time, The parent company, having to pay out some massive amount of money, who knows what that's going to do. I mean, obviously, if they just signed a $5 billion deal, they've probably got a penny or two in the coffers to make this go away. But, yeah, this is going to be it's going to be an interesting fallout of this whole thing, and I wonder how it's going to affect the UFC. And with Dana openly praising McMahon, as he often does, or has in the past at the very least, who knows what other skeletons may be lurking in closets around the newly formed TKO building. Who knows? Again, all allegations at the time. This is all alleged. But interesting, indeed. Yeah, and like I said, I really thought that Brock Lesnar had a bigger role in all this from what I had heard elsewhere. So I guess nice to know that he was not actively taking part in any of these broader physical assaults, essentially. But again, who knows? I mean, if it was like a situation where it was like, hey, do you want to see this chick doing X, Y, and Z to me? And him being like, oh yes, please sign me up. Did she consent? No. I'm all for it. I mean, like, if it's not a situation like that, then I don't think that Brock Lesnar is going to have anything really too much to worry about. It just seems like that was one of the people that she was sure got those pictures and or videos or whatever. So they named him specifically because they knew that he was a name that, that they didn't have to name him. They knew that he was a big enough star that they didn't have to name him. They could call him a UFC star, UFC champion, and that would be enough to let everybody know who it was. And thus, him being as big of a star as he is, that would be something that people would latch on to. Again, because of the wording and phrasing of this complaint, I'm going to go through and probably read that entire thing. It's actually, I mean, it is reading like a very, very gritty. It's just like a fucking, one of those like movies that you, kind of watch through your fingers. But it's certainly captivating in a morbid way. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem that Brock is really too high up in the food chain when it comes to all of the stuff that's going on, and the way that they certainly are in the complaint making it sound very like they were it's written in a way to sensationalize it, obviously with good reason if it's already as sensational as it is. So who knows where hyperbole could be enacted. I'm devil's advocate kind of thing, because I mean, I don't think I mean, it's a bit of a stretch for a person to go out and knowingly like make up the idea that they had fecal matter excreted onto their head and back, and was forced to wallow in it while performing deviant acts, carnal sins. And, it's just not something that one would naturally make up and want associated with them for the rest of their lives, if it wasn't as I guess as true as they're claiming. So two sides to every story, and the truth is in the middle. Who knows what the truth is just yet? We do not. But I draw your own conclusions. Everything's alleged until otherwise, and we'll see what happens with TKO. We'll see what happens with Brock Lesnar. I mean, it doesn't sound like there's going to be much that he's going to have to worry about, but we'll see. Crazier things have happened. Maybe he has to pony up some money. Who knows? How does this affect the daughter's career as a fighter? Because it's looking like the daughter of Brock Lesnar, who looks exactly like Brock Lesnar, which is just it's both uncanny and unfortunate. I guess you could say. you know, who knows what's going to happen with all this? I mean, it's you know, the situation is certainly one that has a lot of moving parts at the moment. So we'll have to see how it all affects everything in the MMA world, and that's it's gonna be interesting. So obviously, I'll be keeping an eye on it. So anyway, that's gonna do it. Yeah, I guess we've been on for about 2 hours. You know, so that'll be it for this YAMMA Talk live. Next time that I come on, I'm gonna hopefully have the multi-streaming thing sorted out so I can get it to all the appropriate platforms and have everybody involved, because I know that there are people who like to watch on Kick and some people like to watch on Twitch as well. Thank you to anybody who has been watching now. Much appreciated. And I will be back with another video. You'll probably be seeing some stuff from this in the upcoming video. We'll see what I end up using and whatnot. But in the meantime, Thinker St. James here. Take good care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.